learn more about him. In my opinion, in the end, hype around this character has paid off. The biggest strength that he has is indeed his intellect. He is the smartest Morty that we have ever seen in the series, not including the comic book versions. He is a cold, manipulative, sadistic, cunning, ruthless, highly intelligent, and tyrannical dictator. Little was shown about him, but he stated that it is impossible for a Morty to defeat a Rick. In the episode, it was revealed that he was controlling his Rick, and it was possibly his idea to capture Morty's objects. In Rick Mirai Jack, he repeats this, believing and even justifying that Mortys are only bred by Ricks for camouflage and to feel superior, justifying this by showing how Ricks continuously force infinite Jerrys and Beths to go together and create endless Morty clones from their offspring. He also acknowledges his evil nature by laughing off his actions and potentially destroying the multiverse and killing trillions. He also states that he is called evil because he is the only Morty to be sick of Rick's horrible actions and behavior. He appeared in every single season in some form, except the second one. He hasn't appeared in the sixth one yet, but Rick and Morty series co-creator Dan Harmon revealed that we'll see more of Evil Morty after the massive cliffhanger. He said, and I quote, "We will definitely be seeing him again," Harmon began, before tempering fans' expectations about when exactly that return could happen, and he said he cautions that we may not be seeing him soon. He's an easy guy to forget about because he kind of took care of himself, so this pretty much confirms that his role in the show isn't done yet and he will be reappearing in the series. However, the one who took his role in this season was Rick Prime. Rick Prime is the Rick who is responsible for the deaths of Diane and Beth Sanchez in Dimension C-137. Rick Prime's actions were the catalyst for Rick C-137 rising to power as the Rickest Rick. Rick refers to Rick Prime as the real deal to Morty. His reasoning for this is that Rick Prime was a narcissist who actively hated attachments to his family to the point that he was willing to abandon them for over 20 years. Rick Prime also believed other Ricks should follow suit, hence his choice to murder Beth and Diane from Dimension C-137, doing away with Rick C-137's attachments in that world. In a sense, Rick Prime's personality is what Rick pretended to be for years, a self-absorbed man who didn't care about anyone, upholding the nihilistic philosophy that all other Ricks project. It is unknown how he was able to remain young despite the many decades that passed, though it is possible he will use inventions to stay young. Beside Rick Prime and Evil Morty, the one who has the possibility of becoming another major villain in the series is Doofus Jerry, who is without a doubt the strongest version of Jerry Smith. Unlike most other of his counterparts, this Jerry was cruel, sadistic, ruthless, selfish, greedy, violent, sociopathic, and a psychopath. He conquered his Earth and became the richest and most successful man out there, but with no sympathy or regard towards others. He is a power-hungry man who is unable to accept rejection, beating his version of Jerry up when he refused his offer to trade lives. Once he heard of multiple dimensions, he jumped at the idea of conquering the entire multiverse. He doesn't seem to have fallen in love prior to meeting Beth, seeing as there was no woman named Beth Sanchez that was born in his own dimension. He is also really good at fighting, beating Rick and Morty with ease, and even taking down a hired thug in a back alley. He also possesses a vast knowledge of weapons and technology, recognizing all the weapons and gear he saw at the Citadel of Ricks during his trial. He is also very resourceful, quickly entering the genetic restructurer to make himself poisonous to Ricks, thereby defeating all of them. I have already made a separate video about his full story in the Rick and Morty comics, and I highly recommend you watch them all. The link will be in the description. Doofus Jerry is a very interesting character. He definitely has the potential to become one of the main villains in the series, alongside Rick Prime and Evil Morty. The death of Cronenberg Jerry, who was considered as the ultimate version of Jerry in the series, could hint that the reason why the writers removed him from the series could be to replace him with Doofus Jerry, who has much greater potential to become a great threat, unlike the Cronenberg version. Evil Morty and Rick Prime seem to be a special case even among themselves, and I really doubt Doofus Jerry would be able to overpower them. However, given his intellect and smartness, I'm sure he'd offer those two to team up with him, since he knows that if they joined forces, they'd be able to do literally anything. I really hope that we will see him too in the series, since he has such a big potential as a character. Another one on our list is Beth. We haven't seen a lot of alternative versions of Beth Sanchez. However, the one that comes to mind is, of course, Space Beth. Space Beth seems to be ambitious as she goes on adventures in outer space, much like Rick himself. She appears to have had good intentions and chose to be a hero, fighting off the tyrannical galactic federation, but at the cost of becoming a wanted outlaw, a criminal in the eyes of the law. She despises how, despite being infamous, her name, Beth Smith, is seen as an incredibly forgettable name. Space Beth appears to be vengeful of her father. Although she holds immense resentment to both Rick and the other Beth, her hatred seems to have toned down by the end of Star-Mort Rick Turn of the Jerry, as she has returned to live with her earthly counterpart and her family, including Jerry, who remarried the other Beth. Neither Beth knows or cares which of them is the clone or the original, as they respect the other being for being who they are, and because of the mutual resentment of Rick. Another thing to note is that she still acknowledges Rick as her father, and didn't try to kill him upon returning to the family. Instead, she teases him, throwing punches and using black threats. This shows that although she does feel dislike for her father, she still has a streak of decency and compassion in her not to kill him. She, in every case, is portrayed as being superior to regular Beth, especially when it comes to combat. However, she's still not the strongest version of Beth that we've seen. In the 7th episode of Season 2, when Beth is wearing the Mythologue helmet and creating Ideal Jerrys, Jerry decides to put the helmet on one of the Ideal Jerrys, whose Mythologue of Beth is a goddess. Beth's new Mythologue was a giant, beautiful goddess that put an end to the fight and made all of the Ideal Jerrys bow down to her, as well as killing Beth's original Mythologue. This divine being, bathed in a radiant light, quickly dispatches Beth's monster Mythologue with a single gesture. What happens to Goddess Beth is unknown, but she's probably still out there. I really wonder if we'll ever see this version of Beth again. And the last one in our list is Summer Smith. So far, Night Summer seems to be her superior alternative version, since she was able to control Night Rick, but that's very unlikely to be the only Alt Summer that we see. Beyond Rick, she's consistently shown to be the most capable and dependable character in the family. There's also a bit at the Citadel where the other Ricks note that Summer shouldn't be allowed to travel with Rick and Morty, as they'd become too dangerous. I think if we do see another Summer, she'll be much like Rick. I strangely can't see her being a villain though. My headcanon is that despite there being no focus on it, our Summer is the Summerest Summer. She is shown to be more decisive, more intelligent, stronger, and far more capable than practically every other Summer in the series. So perhaps the fact that we haven't gotten a stronger alternative version of her is evidence that she is the strongest possible version. Anyway, I guess this is all for today. What do you think about this video? Let me know in the comments, like this video, and subscribe to the channel for more. I hope you all have a great day. Lonnie Brooks out. Bye.